Welcome to the Here's Waldo podcast, where we sit down with top visionaries and creatives in the video game industry. Together, we'll unravel their journeys and learn more about the path they're forging ahead. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hi, I'm Lizzie Mintis, founder and CEO of Here's Waldo Recruiting, a boutique video game recruitment firm. This is the Here's Waldo podcast. In every episode, we dive deep into conversations with creatives, founders, and executives about what it takes to be successful. You can expect to hear valuable lessons from their journey and get a glimpse into the future of the industry. This episode is brought to you by Here's Waldo Recruiting, a boutique recruitment firm for the game industry. We value quality over quantity, transparency, communication, and diversity. We partner with companies, creatives, and programmers to understand the why behind their needs. Before introducing today's guest, I want to give a big thank you to Conspire for introducing us. It is a meetup in Seattle. Game devs, CEOs, investors. It is very interesting. Reach out to Olga for more information, or Josh Ayala, or me. Today we have Štěpán Kaiser with us. Štěpán is the founder of Remāngu, a platform for connecting remote people to game studios. He is passionate about fostering a safe environment for game developers to come together and create better games, which he can't wait to play. Let's get started. Thanks again for being here.
Hello, Lizzie. It's great to be
Hello.
here, and thank you for the nice introduction.
You're welcome. From Estonia.
Yes, I'm from Estonia, so I have evening already. I think you have morning.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a very small country. I'm sure that probably not everybody knows it. It's like only 1 million people living here. It's close to Russia, close to Finland. Like northern part of Europe.
And can you sell us on Estonia? If I was to go to Estonia, what's the one thing I wouldn't want to miss?
Okay, so if you would like to come here as a tourist, then definitely Tallinn is like a beautiful medieval city. You have in the summer actually quite warm sea, or like warm, like 23 degrees, but it's not that crowded as like typical, tourist destinations.
Yeah.
On the opposite, in the winter, you have half meter of snow, 1 meter of snow, so you can like really experience the proper winter. People are nice here, and there are like not so much people, as I said, so you can get really lost, in the woods if you want to, and you can like really clean your head.
That's a very good selling point. I have a 3-year-old, and I told him last week I was going to a party, and he said, "Mama, there might be a lot of people there, and you might want to leave." So I like gatherings, but I also like to be alone. So that's a sell for me. Can you start by telling us a bit about your company?
Yes. So I think that today we want to talk mostly about the Remāngu that I co-founded with my colleague Honza. And we are quite a small startup. We launched the platform at the beginning of this year. And as you said, we are trying to create an environment to let game developers to connect to the projects remotely, to work remotely, to actually have this let's say standard remote workspace, as in the other companies is quite like normal right now. But in the game development, there are some like technical differences, and we are trying to solve them using cloud technologies and help companies to be also remote in the game development.
Tell me about what it took to launch the company, all of the steps. How did you meet your co-founder? How did you decide on this?
Yeah, so I need to say that we are both actually coming from a company called Revolgy. You can hear some like similarities in naming. That's it's like what we wanted to do. And Revolgy is a cloud partner of Amazon Web Services and Google Cloud. By partner, it means that we are helping companies move to cloud environment, be efficient in these like big cloud providers. And in this company, I met Honza, who is a technical guy behind the Remāngu. And I think it all started during the COVID time, actually, because it was like 2020, if I remember correctly. And there was one client from Czech Republic coming to us, and they said like, so we actually got a job. They're like an animation studio. And they said like, yeah, we got a job of one of the 2K studios. Yeah, I can share it. They're called Hangar 13. We actually have a lot of good animators who can do like part of, the part of the job on the new game, but they are sitting around the globe. And right now, as they cannot travel, we actually kind of like won the tender or like, won the deal, but we are not able how to do it technically because we cannot get them here. And we never did it remotely. We don't know how to do it. We don't know how to use remote computers, how to connect via VPN, to the environment of the 2K, etc. Could you help us? And we said like, yeah, probably it should be possible. We didn't know much about the game development at the time, so it was quite like a new challenge for us. But in the end, we did it. There is also a case study, so if there will be, then some like publishing of the podcast, we can add it to it about this whole story. And we learned a lot on this project. It wasn't easy, but we did it in the end. And that time we started like really looking for other studios with similar challenges. Try to explore the market, explore the needs of the companies. If this was just like the unique case, or this like need of actually connecting people remotely to the game project is something more and more common. And after like I think 2 years approximately of quite like heavy exploring the market, because as I said, we are not coming from the game development environment, so it's something new for us. And when we were quite sure that it's something that like is becoming bigger and bigger pain for the studios, and there is no good solution for that right now, we said, okay, so let's try to solve it. And that's when we decided to actually start working on the Remāngu, which is like
Congratulations.
1.5 years back from now when we like decided, okay, let's do that.
So you helped this initial studio work with 2K in the end?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, I think like in the end, I think actually the game was canceled, but it wasn't our fault. It was just,
Yeah.
it's just happening sometimes.
That's just how it goes. Yeah, lots of canceled games, but the fact that they could work with them is huge. And how did you go about? Did you just interview people from other large companies and ask if this was an issue? Did you just cold reach out to them or go to conferences? How did you collect all this data?
Yeah, so I have to say we have quite like unfair advantage, if I can call it like that, that we are working very closely with AWS from the very beginning, and as they are also actively exploring this like whole game production in cloud initiative, we got a lot of help from the very beginning. So they also introduced us to a lot of not even potential customers, but as you said, like people who might be interested, who are just also exploring what are the possibilities. We, of course, also did some of our outreaches. We attended conferences, just talked to people. My colleague is actually, like, let's say, studied in the design thinking process. So he helped us to set the right framework and the right methodology to do it properly. But yeah, I have to say that like having AWS at our back is like very big help, and it's since it's from the beginning and it's still like that. So without that, it would be probably a bit more complicated.
Yeah, what a lucky partnership. But they continue to partner with you. So that says a lot. What would you say? I always think about this in my business too. What is your differentiating factor? Like, why is someone going to work with you versus your competitor?
Yeah. So because I said like a few minutes ago that we are not coming from the game development background, basically. But I think that right now, after all, like because like we first started to do it on like the project base. So as I said, the first case, then we delivered about like 34 like similar, let's say, projects, and then we decided to platformize it and productize it. So I think that right now we are one of the few, let's say, this like computer in cloud. I would like very summarize this solutions actually, that are on the market that really focus on the game studios and like only on them, because there are like a lot of these solutions that are doing like a similar thing, like remote computer and like remote storages, and you have like a lot of these, of course, but none of them, or I wouldn't say none of course, I don't know everybody, so there probably might be some, but very few are really focusing on the game studios. So I think we found this like niche, and we also have this knowledge about at least the development part of the game. And I think that's probably like our differentiator. That we right now we already know what are the problems, what are studios looking for, and they don't need to explain us what Perforce is, for example.
Yeah. Yes. I think we have the same differentiating factor. And I have a quick funny story about Perforce. My husband works in software too. And he went to this conference and he got this little bee stuffed animal and it says Perforce on it. So now our kid is like, oh, my bee Perforce. Like, where's Perforce? Where's Perforce? It's this little stuffed animal. And it makes me laugh.
Nice.
Software life. Um, Starting a company is always so hard. Can you talk about some of the initial challenges or ongoing challenges? I always like at the podcast to highlight that having a company is really hard, and there's some great days when you're on top of the world and some days that are darker.
Yeah, I agree. So we have, I think we have mm, quite like an easier position compared to, I would say, like standard startups, because for now we are fully funded by the Revogy company, so the cloud partner. So for us, the biggest challenge at the beginning was to explain that this is the space where the money should go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't have to look for like external investors, so this was like helping us a lot at the beginning, of course.
Yeah.
I think like it looked all very nice at the beginning. Then when because our idea or our dream was that we want to launch the product at GDC this year, actually. And I think then it started to be complicated because, like, first of all, the deadline was quite tough, so we needed to do a lot of compromises to have at least something to launch there. we did it. Also, it was like the first such a huge conference that we ever, actually maybe not attended, but definitely had like a booth there and really tried to do something. So all the setup was like really, punk solution. And actually for some people it really worked. And also till now I'm meeting some people and they're saying like, hey, you are the pirates, from the GDC. And I'm like, yeah, because all our decorations were only like a flex. Yeah, that's quite simple. And then we found out, like some technical things that just like the day before GDC, we found out that actually the registration to our platform, so like the first thing that the people see doesn't work at all. It was like complete breakdown. So then we had to fix it, during the night with also our developers, and we did it. So it somehow ended well. I don't know how. But yeah, this was like last week or last 2 weeks before GDC were like quite stressful from a lot of aspects.
Yeah, that's really stressful. And I feel like that's a classic situation to happen. Like going to this big conference, it's your big shot, and then the thing you need the most somehow breaks. But that's amazing. Your team was able to help out and pull together and make it work. I feel like behind every really composed booth is a struggle. Whenever you're at a conference like that, there's always a lot of fires you have to fight. What
Yeah,
are you?
even like I'm not sure if yeah, why not to share it? But we are like coming from let's say like Czech Republic, which is like Central Eastern Europe, and the second day of GDC, we said like, okay, so why not to buy some beers, and like have it on our booth at the GDC? It's kind of like connected with the Czech Republic, and why not to do that? And then we had like massive issues, with the security there. That they're like,
What are you doing?
what are you doing? Like, it's definitely not allowed here. We're like, why not? Well,
Yeah.
because you need to have the official license for that. We're like, what kind of license? We don't know it. Nothing like that exists in our country. So,
Yeah.
but then they were really nice. So it looked, it looked scary at the beginning, but then we made it.
If you have a conference in Vegas, you might be able to offer drinks. Vegas is like the Wild West. You can do whatever you like there in terms of drinking and in general. But
Next time, maybe.
yeah, San Francisco is a little bit more strict, unfortunately. What are you most proud of through the journey?
Oh, that's okay. That's a good question. Well, I'm happy that we are still here.
Yeah.
That we kind of survived like the first year, and like the customer base is still growing, and we are still learning new things. Like biggest proud, it's hard to say, like hard to take like only one moment or one thing.
Yeah, you can share a few stories if you have them or a few different highlights. I mean, being in business your first year is a really big milestone. I think there are some crazy stats about how many businesses fail. You should celebrate. You can drink beer in public in Estonia.
Yes, that's also, yeah, that's also a good thing. I would say that I will not share like the name of the studio. I think I cannot do it with these ones because we don't have any like official case study. But like the big win that happened to us was when like really first studio, let's say some like mid-sized, about like 50 to 70 people, like really implemented the solution. And because we are like on demand platform, so we had, and of course we still have, like a lot of studios who are like testing it or using it for some like edge cases, and then some like for only for like a project base, etc. But when we found out like the first one who said, okay, so I'm really going towards like developing things in cloud, and like really, let's say, in quite like short term, like would like to abandon the hardware and like the on-premise world, that was nice. And then we realized that it makes sense that because we, maybe I should tell it at the beginning, we are aware of the fact that with this like concept of using cloud computers, and right now I mean like cloud desktops, not just the computers, for the game development, we are probably slightly early on the market, because still the most of the studios, and mostly the bigger ones, are like exploring, and they know that they need to solve it, or they will need to solve it in the upcoming few years.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, truth is that like a lot of them are still kind of like not reluctant, but they are afraid of change, which is natural, of course.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that I'm saying that because even that we know that we will probably need to survive 2-3 more years, or like 1-2 more years from now, when hopefully, and we really believe it, when it will be like starting to be like more mass adopted, the game development in the cloud. That even right now there are like pioneers who are willing to go like 100% into it, and that's every studio that is like this is like giving us a lot of new energy to actually like keep pushing it forward, because yeah so I would say this, it's not like one thing, but this is probably like things that I'm really proud of and that makes me happy.
Yeah. I think that's one of the most fulfilling things when you own a business is you have this idea, you test it out, somebody uses it, and then comes back and tells you what they accomplished using your product. Like, you're improving them. That's really fulfilling.
Yeah.
Lots of ups and downs along the way. I wanted you to tell me a little bit more about just cloud and remote game development in general, and how it became so popular. Just some more background if anybody is not super familiar.
Yeah, so I think like it started to be popular, more popular during the COVID. So it wasn't a coincidence for us. And let's say the whole concept is okay, I would say maybe differently. So like if you have, let's say, like a normal or non-game development company, like working remotely, it's usually pretty easy. So you get your Mac, you have some like documents online, you are doing like most of the things with quite like small assets, small files. You're writing your emails, you are doing video calls, and like all this like stuff that 95% of companies are doing
Yeah.
are done without any big issues or big complications from anywhere around the world. For the game studios, like the biggest change, or like two biggest changes we see, are the requirement for very high performance hardware for the development. So you need to have like the GPU workstations and everything like that. And second thing are like the really huge assets that they are working with. So it's not megabytes, it's not even gigabytes, it's usually terapetabytes of data that need to be somehow synchronized, that they need to work with. And these two things are making the remote work much more complicated compared to other studios, other companies, sorry.
Yeah.
I would say that in last years, the development of the cloud, or I mean this like big public cloud, got to the space when actually this is already becoming possible. So for example, you can have like very cheap hardware in your home. I don't know, we exhibited it on GDC, and we bought the Chromebook for like $100 at some shop there. And we connected to the cloud environment where we had like 32 CPUs, 64 gigs of memory computer with like equivalent to RTX 4090 GPU card. And everything worked in the cloud, but then we were able to like run big Unreal Engine 5 projects and like move there like very smoothly without any issues. And people were like, okay, so it's quite crazy that you can actually just stream it from the cloud. And right now, and that's the reason why I think this approach is possible only with like big cloud player as, for example, Amazon. Is there like a global network? So basically, it doesn't matter where you sit, but usually you are very close to the nearest data center of them. So you don't have any big latency. And in like 99% of cases, you really don't recognize. And by you, I really mean like game devs who are like, very sensitive on any kind of latency. Don't recognize that you are not working on your local hardware, but you are actually using something that is far away from you in cloud, and you are just, let's say, streaming the pixels on your screen.
Can you tell me a little bit about security?
Yeah, so it's actually that's one of the big benefits of this, and one of the reasons why companies are also looking for it. If I would take aside the remote thing, because what we can, for example, do, we can like really set the rules that the assets or whatever it will be will like never leave the environment of the cloud. So usually I think it can be not scary, but you can be afraid that if you are, for example, hiring some freelancers to work on your game, typical onboarding process looks like that you will prepare the hardware for them, put there the data, send it to them wherever they are, to Europe, to Latin America, whatever. And they work on that. The data sits on their computer. When they do the job, they will somehow send it back, which of course needs some level of trust. You can, of course, secure it somehow, but it's never like, it can be, it's never like fully secure.
Yeah.
But if the data are in cloud, and you can just very easily say, okay, they will not leave the cloud, like it's not possible, because like you have as I said, you have the workstation in the cloud, all the storage is there, or the versioning system is there. So there's no need to actually leaving them the secure environment there. You have kind of like full control. Of course, still people can whatever, like do the screenshot of the screen or like something like that. But this
Sure.
is the only way how the data can actually leak. And then you have the watermark and stuff like that. So it's like the safest way possible right now, I would say.
Any other pros and cons to mention?
So I can say cons also to be, to make it real.
Yeah.
It is expensive. So or it can be expensive, I would say. So mostly the GPU cards are expensive, and they are expensive in cloud, on premise, or wherever you are buying them. This is, I would say, one of the biggest challenges right now, because you can buy like cheaper cloud GPUs from, let's say, smaller providers, but then you are losing the advantage of having the global network, and then the whole solution actually doesn't make sense, because you are not talking about the remote solution. but for example, about something that works only in whatever Washington state, for example, where you have the one cheap data center. So yeah, the price can be challenging, but it's not that big issue for these like mid-sized to higher studios, because they, when you have simply higher demand, you can get much better rates for this from Amazon, for
Right.
example.
Yeah. Like that's such an issue if you're a small studio. Just like anything, you get like even I mean, maybe this will be foreign to you, but here in America we have awful insurance. And if you have a large company, you can negotiate this really good group rate. But if you're a smaller company, you'll get stuck paying so much.
Yeah, but on the other hand, I have to say that again, I don't want to like do the big promo here for Amazon, but they are like really helpful also for the smaller studios, because they are able to offer you like basically credits to cover some like beginning in the cloud, and it can be like quite a lot. It can be up to 100K in credits, and for 100K, I don't know, you can have like 10 team, 10 people team actually using this solution for a year very easily. So yeah, there are also ways how to make it cheaper. And what I want to say also about the price is that we have a lot of users who are not using it this, like, let's say I go like full in, as I said, but the very typical use case is if the studios are working in a hybrid mode.
Yeah.
So they still have the office, they would like to meet in person, they already have there the performant hardware, but they also want to spend some time home and co-working space wherever on a cottage. And already, if you are thinking about the ROI and you would like to or you need to buy the hardware 2 times or
Right.
even like 3 times sometimes, in these cases, even if the cloud solution is more expensive, it's becoming actually cheaper than buying the hardware like 3 times. So yeah, there are cases where even like the simple math are working right now.
Do you think you're seeing companies do more hybrid? Like, is that a big thing, or you're seeing a lot of companies stay fully remote? What is your clientele doing the most right now?
So I would say right now the two typical cases are the hybrid, and the next one is like a project-based cooperation. So as I gave the first example of this like animation studio for 2K, that you simply know that it's a project for 6 months, for example, and yeah, like the work for hire studios. Basically, this model is also like very like yeah very typical for us right now.
Yeah. So work for hire is kind of a key.
Or any kind of like a co-development or yeah,
Yeah.
these situations. So, and it also makes sense because then the whole calculation is slightly different, because yeah, then if you have the cost of the developer or the artist, then always the technology cost is much smaller if you compare it to the salary. So yeah, like for now, these are the most often cases, and yeah, these like fully remote and fully cloud studios are more rare right now.
I did a poll on LinkedIn this week about remote work. And so far, 3% of people say they want to be in the office. I think 35% want to be hybrid. And then whatever the math is on the rest want to be fully remote. So we'll see what happens in 2024 and beyond. But I feel like the cat is out of the bag and remote work will stay. And like you said, codev studios are a huge client for you, but I feel like there are more and more codev studios popping up because it
That's
takes so
true.
many people to make a game these days. You can't just have your one 200
Yeah,
person
that's
studio.
that's true. And actually, I'm not sure if it was with you or with someone else. I discussed this like what is happening with the talents and on the market within the game development. And yeah, like a lot of studios, a lot of companies are saying that like it's difficult to find the right people, and that like it's not easy. I agree. On the other hand, I think there are like tons of like really skilled people, but usually the problem is that they are not at the right like
Location.
geolocation for you.
Yeah.
And that's also what we believe that we would like, that our solution can help do. So not only to studios actually, but also to people to find a dream job, and they don't need to move for the job, but they can stay where they like it.
Yeah, that's huge. It's life changing. I read a post yesterday about Amir Safa. Do you follow him? Probably. He's like
Yeah.
a gaming celebrity. Shout out to Amir.
Yes.
He'll be on the podcast soon. But he posted that his kid told him that he gets to see his grandparents all the time and he hopes to go to college in the same town so he can keep seeing his parents all the time and his grandparents, which is so sweet. So there's a lot to be said to be able to live wherever your family is living and have your job be somewhere else. And from my post, most people had the preference for fully remote, but a lot of people commented and they said they want to do remote work, but be able to go in and collaborate X times per week, per month, per quarter. Maybe that's hybrid. It depends on what you mean. But people said there's a lot of value in that, but then being able to do what they want on their own time. So that's amazing. You can support that.
Yeah, and 100% agree with it. Also, from my experience, that like being remote is great, but yeah, once in a while, and I don't know what is the right frequency, but yeah, let's say 4 times a year or probably even more to
Yeah.
meet in person. It's the best. And then actually, I think also people enjoy it more than if they're meeting every day.
Yeah.
And the meetings are much more productive. So with Jan, the second co-founder of Remāngu, we are meeting. I would say like approximately like 2 times per quarter. And usually we are connecting with attending some conference, for example, or some smaller meetup. And yeah, like, what we can then do in like one day of working together.
Yeah.
It's usually like accelerating a lot of things that were kind of like stuck and we were like postponing them because we didn't know how to approach them. But then if we can sit together, it's usually much faster to like push it through.
Yeah, it is. People also commented, specifically in game dev at the beginning phase when you're doing a lot of R&D, like trial and error, just trying to get your idea off the ground. The collaboration can be a bit more important there, but there are some companies like Spryfox that have done it 100% remotely. So yeah, that's interesting. Do you think that different countries have different needs? Like, do you have a specific area in which you serve the most or hope to serve the most?
So we have, well, I wouldn't say like, yeah, well, yeah. So we are right now we have the most customers in Scandinavia probably. So it's
Hmm.
like mostly Sweden mostly.
Oh,
And also actually in the US, we have some. We are not that active in the APAC region right now, but it's more like, that it's far for us, and we simply didn't do any activities towards there. I believe that the needs are also there. There's like one, I would say, special region, and it's Brazil, where our solution makes sense also from slightly like different point of view, because there are like really huge taxes on hardware. So it's even like, as
oh,
I said, it's expensive. So there are some situations where actually our cloud solution, even if it's like without any discounts or anything like that, it's actually cheaper than buying the hardware there. Yeah, but other than that, I would say US, Northern Europe, there are like the two biggest hubs. And differences, I would say it's connected with like with how the people are actually thinking about the cloud in general. So you have, and I definitely, I don't want to say that like, everybody are the same in these countries, but like, yeah, the more east in Europe you usually go, people are a bit more like hesitant and careful when it comes to the cloud in general. I don't talk
oh,
only about our solution.
yeah.
And when you go more
Interesting.
west, people are much more open to like new solutions in the cloud, etc. So we see like similar kind of like behaviors, but again, you cannot say it like about everybody for sure.
No, I mean, even in recruiting, there are themes, right? We deal with people from all over the world, and especially in negotiating compensation. I think there are themes in the way in which people negotiate the strategies, the mindset based on their country of origin. And it's not always the same, but you talk to hundreds, thousands of people, and eventually you pick up on some themes. So it's interesting to work with a company where you do talk to people from all over the world, because there are different cultures, and some places you can drink beer in public, some you can't. But there are some things you can do and say. I have a friend, Adam Lieb, he was on the podcast and he runs Game Site. And he was telling me in a certain country, maybe somewhere in Europe, if you were to send an email on the weekend, that would be incredibly rude. Like that would be a big no-no, right? But if you weren't in that area, you might not know that, because that might be okay in the place that you're from. So there are all these interesting social nuances that you have to pick up on.
Yeah, it might be Denmark, maybe, or Norway.
Yeah, somewhere not in America where they have work-life balance figured out.
Yeah, it's like I remember one like meeting with one of our partners in Norway, and I was like, yeah, we want to meet, and it was like either breakfast or lunch, basically. I was like, yeah, so let's do breakfast. And then I got a message, yeah, but like earliest I can do it's like 10 to 10:30. I was like, okay, so then let's do lunch already, because it's like, okay. So lunch, we did lunch at like 1, and it was I think like Wednesday. and then I said, okay, so are you going back to the office? And he said like, oh, not anymore. So anyway, I'm ending at like 3, so I will probably go home and just send some emails and I'm done. So yeah, they are like they can do the like real work-life balance. So
Yeah, not so much in the US. But I mean, it's different. There are different companies. I recruited for a company that was based in Europe, and they had opened a branch in the US. And even their benefits, like their parental leave was much longer. They basically had all these European benefits and European schedule in America. So that's what's really interesting about remote work too, because you may work for a company that's headquarters are outside of the US, and then that culture kind of becomes the culture of your work, even if you are in the US.
yeah, that's interesting, like philosophical question, how to approach it, because then it's like either you want to be like completely equal for everybody, I think, for every culture, like everybody has the same. But I think that still, basically, even if you are doing this, there is still some kind of like misbalance, because still some people are actually much better on it than the others. And then that's the question, if you should somehow balance it with the benefits and stuff like that. But yeah, so I think I don't have clear opinion on this. I discussed it with a couple of friends, but I don't think there is like a right answer actually how to approach it properly, at least from my point of view.
Remote work is awesome, but there are a lot of questions too. Cultures are different, and then compensation is different. And that's a hot topic, because you have to make compensation public in the state of Washington, where I live, New York, California, all of the more progressive states, but more and more, I think, in Canada too. And then the question is, like, what if I hire somebody in Estonia? Do I base it on Estonia cost of living? Is it a salary that's just the same no matter what you sit? Or like, what if you live in San Francisco, I hire you, and then you move to Estonia? Do I lower your compensation, or vice versa? Right? It's so hard. So
That's and then if you actually want to, as you said, like have different compensation based on the city, then actually the position is not fully remote, because it's like you cannot work wherever you want. Of course, you are still need to be like tied to the location where you can afford to live.
yeah, but is it my, like, if I hire you in Estonia because you're great, right? In theory, and then it's also very affordable for me. If you move somewhere very expensive, it's not really the same equation. So from an employer perspective, it's hard. And then I have to open up a business entity in another location, which is a colossal pain.
We know it. So you are fully right. But
Yeah.
it would be nice to have like some really global countries sometime in the future that we can like really work from wherever place we want. We don't
Yeah,
need to worry about taxes and stuff like that. It will be somehow like globally covered, but yeah, it's probably like utopia. So
that's a dream. I think it is nice to work with people from around the world, though, because you learn about their culture and the way that they do things and the way they approach a problem is really, really different. I want to talk a bit about your degree. I saw you have a degree in geographic information science and cartography. Can you talk a bit about your background doing that and then how you led to your last sales job? And obviously you talked about how that led you into games.
okay, yeah, I didn't expect that. Yeah, so I studied it's called actually the subject was called geoinformatics. So as you said, it's like the combination of cartography, geodesy, if it's the English word for that, and information systems. So we were, for example, like the stuff we were doing, it was quite fun. But for example, we were writing like the algorithms, like the tests algorithms to actually read the GPS data from how they're called. Is the word from the GPS simply. And based on like the raw data that we are getting, and like actually everybody can get the raw data from them to set the relocation. So it was like a lot of programming in the context of the of the location, and I liked it. I liked it a lot, but I also had like a dream job. I wanted to do this and actually do this for state that time when I was young, because I saw like a lot of good use cases like that you can like change uh, the way how people live in the future, or change the help the nature also in like this, let's say, information technology aspects. But when I realized like what are the salaries at that time in Czech Republic, I said, okay, that wouldn't fly.
Not my
And
dream anymore.
Yeah, so then I went to do sales, but I still stick to like these geolocation solutions because we were doing like a consultancy and solutions with the Google Maps actually, and that's where I first get in touch with some cloud solutions. And
Oh,
from Google Maps, I started to exploring what actually Google Cloud is, because this was the time when the Google Cloud was announced and there was like complete beginnings of it. Then I switched to the Revolgy, and yeah, it was more about Google Cloud and also AWS as their competitor. Well, and our partner too. And yeah, so then I did sales for some time, and I actually moved at the end to the product role, and now to co-founding the Remāngu part. If
that,
this story makes sense.
yeah. I'm following along. And if not, someone can just check out your LinkedIn and then it'll all make sense. What is the future for Remāngu? What can we look forward to? What is your vision for the next couple years? What do you want to roll out?
Okay, so I will mention like two things. First one is like for next year, and it's not a product thing actually. It's connected with the fact that we really want to be like showing the world what does it mean to actually make games in cloud or make games remotely. So we realized that without that it will be very difficult, and we really need to have like our brand connected with this like motion. So we want to spend much more time on like talking, doing some marketing activities around that, and simply like be more educative also. So we have like a big plan for content and stuff like that, because we believe that the product in the current phase is like good enough, I would say. We of course have still some like product roadmap, but there are like no huge chunks of things. So we want to focus more on this part. And if I should say like one product thing that we really would like to do, but I am quite like realistic here, and I don't think it will happen next year. is that we would like to add to the technology business we are doing. So the cloud platform, also something that is, I believe, closer to you. And our vision here is that we are saying, okay, when we have enough of people on the platform, and by people I mean studios and users, we can also help with actually matchmaking them and actually connecting them. So it can be some kind of matchmaking platform for studios and people, how to find the person to work on my project, and then ideally I just click here, I do the connection, and we can start working. So that's
Cool.
our vision for coming, I don't know, couple of years.
So a lot more sophisticated of a Fiverr, very specifically,
Yes.
I need this outsourced animator and they can sit anywhere in the world and then your platform will connect them.
Yes.
Cool. I like that. Exciting. I have one last question before I ask it. I want to point people to your website, remangu.com. The last question is if you could give one piece of advice to an aspiring entrepreneur, somebody who wants to start their own business, they could get funny and start it within a company like you did, anything like that, what would it be?
Yeah. So I would recommend to start as low cost as possible, and really have this fake it till you make it approach.
Yes.
And but at push this as far as possible, ideally push it that far that you are really signing the contract with whatever Blizzard or someone like that, and then you are sure that, okay, I really need to actually deliver them something. Of course, it's not that easy, to make it like that, but at least have this mindset, and really don't estimate the kind of the exploration phase. So I think that you can, and I believe a lot of people have amazing ideas, and you can be almost 100% sure that your one is the one that will be the idea. But I think still it's really good and well spent time, and actually also money to validate these hypotheses with the customers, and really spend time to do it properly, and not just I don't know, rely on these false positives that you will tell it to a couple of your friends. They will say, yes, that's a great
Yeah.
idea, let's do that. So yeah, probably these two things I would recommend.
That's great advice. Yeah, it's easy because you think your idea is great. It's just like reading the news, right? You see more of what you believe, and it's easy to be like, yes, this is what I think. This is the truth. So,
Yeah.
but starting your own business is just facing a lot of hard truths over and over.
Yeah, and I have to be honest that I think we should wait. If I would do it again, I will wait much longer before actually starting the development itself. I think as I said, even the GDC part, I wouldn't be even afraid to do there a fake launch or something like that. I think it would have similar impact, and it would save some money in the end. So yeah, I'm not saying it's the only approach, but I think it's not bad one.
Yeah, it's easy to put a fast timeline on yourself and think you're going to get it done. Will you be
Yeah.
at GDC this year?
Probably no.
Okay.
I decided to limit a bit the traveling this year, or next
Yeah.
year actually. But I am thinking about attending DICE in Vegas actually. So I heard about few friends that it's a good place to be. So maybe this one.
Yeah. I'll be there. We'll see ya. We've been
Nice.
talking to Štěpán Kaiser, founder at Remāngu. Where can people go to contact you or learn more about you and maybe listen to your podcast?
Okay, so you can find me on LinkedIn. If you write Štěpán Kaiser, you will find me probably. The web of Remāngu, Lizzie already mentioned it. So it's remāngu.com. And yes, we also, with a couple of my colleagues, we have a podcast. It's called Cloud Do You Do? I think it's similar as to this one. We are talking about cloud technologies with people who are using cloud technologies. It's more like lightweighted, so we are not going into like super technical details, but more like the benefits of it from the more like high level. And you can find us, I think, on actually all the platforms, so on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and I don't know if there is some more. But yeah, we are publishing it through some of the magic solution that is publishing it everywhere.
Me too. Yeah. It's Cloud Do You Do?
Yeah, it's like
How do you do, but with cloud.
Cloud Do. Yes.
Clever. I like that. I just named my podcast Here's Waldo Podcast because that's my company name. It was easier. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It was nice to be here.
Thanks so much for listening to the show this week. To catch all the latest from Here's Waldo, you can follow us on LinkedIn. Be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes. We'll see you next time.